Alright guys, today I'll be reviewing Arieforce One at Fun Spot Atlanta, and I'm not going to hide it, this is the best coaster in the world and it's not particularly close, so I mean we might as well just give it an Arieforce 1 out of 10 right away before we even get into the video, but yeah, let's actually get into why this is hands down the best coaster ever created. You're going to start off your experience by pulling up to this park and just seeing Arieforce One in its glory, and obviously it dominates this park. There is nothing even close to as massive as this ride. It's so weird, but it's part of why I love Fun Spot. So yeah, you actually get in the park, and it's right in the back of the park, so like a 1 to 2 minute walk. So yeah, you get back there, you walk under the quad down, and oh my god, the presentation of this ride is so good. It just looks stunning. It's the best color schemes of like any coaster. It's perfect having the red on one side, the blue on the other, and then the white supports. The queue itself has some theming too. It's like some space sort of stuff. It makes no sense with the name, but I don't really care. The space stuff is really cool. And then you get to the station, and when the train dispatches, you hear liftoff sequence engaged. You'll hear harness system engaged when the trains lock. And then you've got landing success, mission complete when you come back into the station. It's just so cool. And the way they execute it too, it sounds like it's not like a super hype audio, but it's just perfect. So you'll get up to the station and you will not wait one cycle because nobody ever comes to this park, which is part of the reason why it's the best park in the world, is you can just sit on this thing all day. You do have to walk around in between each ride, but like, who really cares? Like, they'll wait for you if they know you've been on it over 10 times. So that's cool. I would recommend really trying every row on this ride. I managed to get 70 rides in about 7.5 hours at the park, so definitely try every seat possible. I personally prefer back row, blue side, or unload side, right side, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call them blue and red side for now, but just know blue is right and red is left, or blue's unload, red's load. So yeah, I personally like back row, blue side, but I know a lot of people who like front row. I know a lot of people who like red side, and it just depends. But I personally think back row blue side's the most aggressive. So if for whatever weird reason you can only get one ride on Arieforce, go there. But I will say, I actually originally liked the front a bit more. I find this behavior kind of consistent across all RMCs, where in the morning, they're front row rides. In the afternoon, they're back row rides, which is very strange. I think it has to do with like, okay, the coaster's not warmed up yet, so the airtime moments are hitting harder up front, but then once it warms up, the back row hits even harder than the front. So like the front stays consistent throughout the day, whereas the back really warms up a lot. So just something to note, not only for this ride, but all RMCs. So yeah, you're going to sit down in these trains, and oh my god, these are some really good trains and really good ops. These ops only pull up on the lap bars. They do not care if you get minimum verify, so you can pretty much get as much room as you want, obviously within minimum verify, but yeah, you can still get all that room, and it's great. So definitely do that if you want to. And then you go out of the station, you hear liftoff sequence engaged, and you are out. If you're in the back row, you're going to get 3 really good airtime pops on this Prelift. It's definitely reminiscent of Wildcat's Revenges. I do like that one slightly more, but it's close. In the front, you don't really get a whole lot on this Prelift. You only get one of those 3 hills, which there's 2 hills, 1 drop off the station. You don't get anything there, and then you get something on the first hill, just a little floater pop, and then nothing on the next hill. It's definitely Flowjector in the back, though, so back's a lot better for this Prelift, but that's not why you ride Arieforce One. You're going to start climbing up this lift hill, and it's very slow and loud, but who cares? You get to the top of it, you get a good view of Atlanta right in front of you, and then you head down the first drop. This is probably the weakest part of the main ride, in my opinion. It's still got great ejector, like it's still a top 10 first drop, like, that's how good the rest of the ride is. Like, this and the next element are definitely the weakest parts of the ride, and they're still great elements. So yeah, there's nothing much to say about this. It's solid ejector. It's not mind-blowing, but it's fun. Then the valleys on this, with a few exceptions, don't do a whole lot, but that's literally every RMC. So yeah, nothing disappointing there. So then you go into the Raven Trust Dive. This is definitely the other element, like the first drop. That's a bit weaker. So you get the two weakest elements right out of the way. So this one, it's weird. In the front, it's definitely better. You get an ejector pop going into it, where in the back, you get more of a flowjector pop. And you kind of feel it a bit more on the red side, I would say. This is probably one of two elements that's better on the red side. You get a little more pop going into it. You'll go up and it'll start to feel like an outer bank, and then it'll throw you to the right because you're banking to the left. And the laterals aren't extreme. The airtime's not too extreme, but it's still a really fun element, especially with all the head and hand choppers. And it's really just a full body chopper in there with all the truss. So then this is where things start getting insane. You've got this next speed hill, and you're not only going to get chucked to the right, you're going to get a phenomenal ejector pop. I mean, just shoots you straight up. It's easily over 1.5 or negative 1.5 Gs, maybe negative 2, probably not, but still, it's really strong. And then you hit the ZeroG Stall. This is perfect where this is placed in the ride. I was skeptical about them putting a stall so early in the ride, but it's perfect. You've got an insane ejector pop right before it. You've got an insane sustained outer bank coming after it. So in between all that, like, you just get chucked up, you're expecting insane ejector, and then it just throws you not only to the right, but throws you out of your seat into this perfect zero G. And this is really hard to explain, but like no other ride like has a zero G stall or any moment of hang time as perfect as this. Like, when people say it hits a perfect zero G, like, I was thinking, yeah, what's that supposed to mean? But, like, I understand it. It's just something you gotta feel. Like, this thing, like, you just feel different hanging upside down for this long, like, on something like this. And I know a lot of people might say, oh, there's carnival rides that can hang you upside down this long, but it's different. It really is. There's just something about the way this is profiled that really just makes you feel like you're floating in space, which is perfect for the theme. And then coming out of the stall, you get such a good ejector pop. A lot of people talk about the kink there at the end of it, and it's definitely there. This is one of the many instances where the blue side gets more than the red side. The red side definitely doesn't get quite as strong of an ejector pop coming into it and out of it as the blue side. So yeah, definitely go for blue side, and in particular, row 7. If you really like the stall, row 7 could be your favorite row on the ride. It's bizarre, but James was telling me about it, and yeah, row 7's definitely amazing for the stall, but back row's still definitely the best. So yeah, after the stall, you're going to hit this fantastic outer bank, definitely better than Steve's and Guazi's. It's perfect. It feels about as sustained as Mako's 5-second floater hill, and you get some of the strongest ejector you'll ever feel. It's just one of the greatest things ever, feeling that strong of airtime for that amount of time. It feels like those first two camelbacks on El Toro all over again, although this might even be better just because of the outer banking. I do think it's slightly better on the red side, but this is the last element that could be better on the red side because, yeah, for some reason, blue side just does the rest of the elements better, but blue side on this element is still just fantastic. So after that, you're going to hit this double up. The first one delivers a great pop of ejector, just pure violence, and weirdly enough, it feels the same in every row, so don't think that this is just going to be better in the front, because the back gets about the same amount, which is great. And then, oh my god, this second up / big sustained hill, holy, this is just the most strong and sustained moment you could ever imagine. In the front, it's incredible. Just pure punch, and you're out of your seat for like a few seconds. In the back, it's even more disgusting. Like, especially if you have minimum verify, oh my god, this thing rips you so hard out of the seat. Like, for pretty much the rest of this ride, I will try my best to explain what it does to you, but you cannot comprehend how strong the negative G's are on this ride without actually riding it. If you haven't ridden this, you can't comprehend how good the negative G's are on it. This thing just rips you so hard out of your seat, and for so long, it just does not feel right. It is one of the all-time greatest elements. It might be the single best element on any coaster, not counting sequences, which if you want to count sequences, don't worry, because this, yeah, there's one sequence on this coming up that's way better than anything else, but this might be the best standalone element. And the element coming up right after it might also be the best standalone element, and that is the arcade roll. I didn't think any ZeroG roll would beat the Mosasaurus roll, but somehow I think the arcade roll's actually better. And I don't think the Airtime's quite as strong as the Mosasaurus roll, but it's almost as good, and with room, which, by the way, you're not going to get any room on Velocicoaster, whereas here you can have room. So the Airtime's pretty much equal, and the Laterals are definitely better. Plus, you've got all the truss surrounding you, making you feel like your whole body's going to get chopped off. It's just such a perfect element. This is definitely another element that varies depending on which side you are. Blue side's just going to get absolutely ripped and torn in half to the right, whereas red does something a little interesting. It kind of tricks you into thinking you're going to get thrown to the right, and then for some reason it throws you to the left. Not as hard as the blue side, but it does this weird little fake out, which is very bizarre. So that's probably why some people like red side, for that little fake out there. So that was definitely cool. But either way, you just feel all that speed going through this too. You're trying to comprehend what just happened on that last sustained hill, and then you're just hit with this insanity, and oh my god, it's such a perfect element. And then that insanity continues. You don't have any time to catch your breath or comprehend anything. And then it throws you into this little twist and shout. On the red side, it's definitely strong. It's ejector. It's nothing too special. But on the blue side, you just get ripped skywards and ripped to the right again. So definitely be prepared to get thrown to the right a lot if you're on the blue side. It's just spectacular. You can't comprehend anything. And then you just get thrown around very violently again, and you just can't comprehend anything that's happening. It's perfection. And then you hit the ground hugger, and I actually thought this pulled some pretty good G's. I never grayed out, but I could definitely feel it every time. So that's definitely a good moment of positives. And then you hit the last ZeroG roll. This one's almost as good as the arcade roll. You have the head choppers, and then you've also got another great lateral airtime combination going to the right if you're on the blue side. You're going to get this combination going to the left on the red side, and it's not quite as strong, but it's still fantastic. And really, up to this point, it could still be the best coaster in the world, potentially, without this last sequence, but then it throws you into the chili dip, the quad down, and then the final pop into the brakes. All in a row, no breaks in between them. These 6 airtime moments probably happen in like 7 seconds or something ridiculous like that. So you just get thrown up and then thrown up again, no time to recover. And all 6 of these moments, I bet the day I was there, were probably pulling well over -2 Gs. These are the strongest moments of airtime. You can't imagine how strong they are. Like I said, you have to ride this to know how strong they are. They are the strongest moments on the planet, and you just can't comprehend how hard these throw you out of your seat. If one of these moments were on any other ride, it'd be definitely the strongest moment of airtime on the ride, easily. Even Wildcat's Revenge. But then you throw all of them in a row, 6 in a row, no breaks, no time to recover. You're just flying around. You have no control of your body. It just throws you up. And then that last pop into the brakes isn't quite as strong, but like it's still pretty much as strong as the rest of the 5 moments. And I will warn you, in the back, you kind of get thrown forward, and if you're a dude, you might kind of hit your crotch area, but just like push forward like against the seat and like stop your body from flying forward that much and you'll be fine. So that's not an issue for me because I know how to ride this thing without hitting it. But just, oh my God, these moments of airtime, they're perfection. They're exactly what I want. For someone who wants to get thrown out of their seat as hard as possible, as violently as possible, there's just nothing better. This is exactly what I want out of a coaster. And then you pop into the brakes. So yeah, your thighs will be sore after this thing, and your shins too. Especially if you marathon this thing like I did 70 times in one day. But I don't really feel the pain when I'm on the ride because I'm just thinking about how insane this thing is and how hard this thing throws you out of the seat and how rapid fire it is. And that's the other thing. 1, it has by far the strongest negative G's on any coaster. And 2, it has by far the best pacing on any coaster. I mean, that's the recipe for by far the best coaster in the world. Just the strongest negative G's over and over again. No breaks in between. No time to catch your breath. No time to go, what just happened? It just keeps throwing you from one part of the ride to the next. One bonkers moment of airtime to the next. Throwing some insane laterals in there. I mean, this is just so far ahead of every other coaster that I've reworked my ranking system. So, before I obviously graded a coaster 1 to 1,000, but I'm changing that because I realize that there's a lot of coasters that are very similar in quality that could go into a group from 1 to 10. But for Arieforce One, it's just so far ahead of all the other coasters that I could consider 10 out of 10s. Like, it's just in 3 leagues down of its own. And that made me want to grade Arieforce One and Arieforce 1 out of 10, because there's just nothing that's even close to this ride. This is so far and away my number 1 coaster that, like, I just can't compare it to anything else. Again, I tried telling you, oh, this thing's just gonna pull like well over negative 2 G's just over and over again. You can't know what that's like until you're on this ride. It's just so far and away the most aggressive airtime machine of all time. Best pacing in the world. Insane laterals thrown in there. Like, it deserves a whole category just for Arieforce One. Because I genuinely don't know if anything on the planet could even come close to this thing. It's gonna take a real miracle for anything to beat this for me, because this is exactly what I want. I want a ride that, 1, just throws me out of my seat as hard as possible, and 2, does it over and over again with relentless pacing, and does it in the most violent manner possible, and that's exactly what Arieforce One does. So let me know what you guys think of Arieforce One down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.